Good evening. This is Haterade from the Tales from the Age of Men. I just kind of want to get together and do a development blog. I'm trying to do these more frequently, if you will. I think that there's a lot of things that are going into the mod. Um, Kind of keep everyone up to date with a video instead of, just using Discord and stuff like that. So yeah, we're doing a kind of Lord of the Rings overhaul for Bannerlord 2, if you're not familiar with it. There's a lot of progress that has already been made. We started off in November of 2024, and here we are closing in quite quickly on our kind of 1 year mark here in a couple months. So had a blast so far. Did a heck of a lot of things. Learned a lot, but I'm kind of constantly in the Discord answering questions. I kind of want to go through and answer some of the most common questions. Also, kind of showcase the game so far so that people can see kind of what's going on. I will be releasing another Patreon version this Friday, so they can kind of play with the latest and greatest Iron Hills and a couple other things. I just got all this into the game. Keyforce did an excellent job, kind of getting this all together. His time lapses here in the announcements, and that's kind of one of the things that the artists are doing, are not only updating the portfolios, but also updating, showing people kind of behind the scenes. I think that that's huge, so that people can start to see like what actually goes into making armor, making weapons, importing it into the game, doing the XMLs, doing this stuff, what goes into the coding, what goes into all that kind of work. I think that people whether right or wrong, they just kind of want things. Oh, well, let me get this armor, or let me get this person from this age in here. Why is it taking so long for this mod to come out or that mod to come out? And I think that people just don't understand the amount of work that goes into making a total overhaul mod. So that's what this development blog is kind of here for. Is one, I want to share my progress, the lessons learned that I've had, start to share how to edit things, how I do things, kind of my philosophy or development kind of techniques that I've learned so far. I am by nowhere near an expert. I constantly am kind of fiddling around and testing things, but also kind of showcase some of the tools that I use on a day-to-day basis, so that people that don't know, I commission a lot of people to do various different things, because there are just things that I just can't do, won't do, don't know how to do. So like when people come together and they say, oh, what's your development team? So like I commission people to kind of produce a product, whether it's X, Y, or Z, and they produce it for me, and then either I get it into the game myself, import it in, stuff like that, or I pay more people for kind of rigging. So for example, like armors. When you do an armor, usually a 3D artist will only do the armor. Besides, like people out there like Keyforce, they don't rig, they don't do weight painting, vertex painting, they don't import it into the game, they don't do the XMLs. That's Keyforce is kind of the only guy that I've worked with that has kind of done it from start to finish. Um, for all the weapons and stuff like that, Solos. So so you guys can C Solos. He is by far and away one of the best, kind of 3D artists to work with for weapons. He does a lot more than just weapons. I just have him doing weapons because I only, kind of learned my lessons and only want one person kind of standardized to do all the things instead of having multiple different people do multiple different kind of ways and, troops and stuff like that. It gets to be unstandardized, and I think it shows in the quality of the armors as we move forward. But yeah, so he's if you are interested, hit him up. He's once again amazing. He can do it all. And one of the things that I look for in team members, and the reason why I kind of trimmed down my team to what it is currently today, is what's huge for me is people that go above and beyond. So yes, I'm paying people, but like they do tend to go above and beyond. Anything I ask, they kind of sometimes do it free of charge. Any kind of fixes and stuff like that free of charge. But one of the things that is the key thing is like passion. And what I mean by passion is I have people like Leo V, Igor, Solos, obviously Keyforce. They all went out and bought the game on their own dime, and they installed it, and they like like kind of like started to do the whole workflow and process themselves. Like Solos was one of the first people that bought the game, and now he makes the models, he puts into the game, then he tests them, and then like he's constantly making changes and doing XMLs and stuff like that. I can't tell you as a mod owner how huge that is to have someone on your team that's doing that. Same thing with Keyforce. Leo V is trying. He does have a tall order, kind of to build out the Elven armor, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then Igor does the same thing, and he kind of also has a tall order of building out Rune and Harad armors. So but that's what you kind of have to look for. There's a lot of people that they'll just do A, and that's it. They won't move on to B and C and D. But these people that like want to go above and beyond, you really like these guys. I can't speak enough about them. I can't give them enough references. So if you are looking into who to hire next, you got Solos. He's a part of the team. He does all of our weapons for us. Shout out to Black Rose and Swan. They're working on the map. Timber's working on map icons currently. Keyforce is a legend. He needs no introduction. Chase K is doing a amazing job with all the armor rigging with Bama. So Bama and Chase K do all the rigging. It is tedious work, and it sometimes requires hours and hours and hours to import it into the editor. And once again, I'm trying to show you guys a little bit more behind the scenes so you know what I'm talking about. And then Hart, I have him from ADOD. He did a lot of their scenes, and he's going to be working on doing some scenes, working on him currently Isengard, and then moving on to Helm's Deep and some other things. Swan's currently working on MT. He's right now over at ADOD working on King's Landing if it's not already completely finished. But I want him to rest and recover so he doesn't get burned out. So Black Rose has picked up the map to kind of finish and kind of push through on the map. But kind of if you look at the Discord, one of the things you'll see is I'll start to post dev blogs here. We're doing a lot for map and scene progressions. A lot of armor kind of gets posted here. Once again, Leo V is working on a Mirkwood armor. Then he's going to be moving on the whole kingdom, by the way. And then he's going to be moving on to Lurian armor. And then we'll see what he wants to do next. As you can see, this guy's work is, Leo Mag is working on some more Rune weaponry, but Keyforce and Solos are kind of in here just constantly posting kind of their work. I mean, look at this, how beautiful this kind of is. It's just, once again, it truly is inspiring, especially when you get huge amounts of Keyforce. I love Keyforce, but I also hate him because look at all this that you have to get into the game, and he just goes the extra mile to help you out and make sure that it's as smooth as possible. So huge in terms of time and resources, because that's what this mod kind of takes a lot of. We got Chewy and Anwin going away and pounding away at these coding. I'll show you guys that over here on the right hand side. I try to post almost every day what I'm doing, what I'm focusing on, how I'm doing it, so that people can see, kind of the progress of the mod. I just believe in transparency. I believe that you should know exactly what we're doing. However, I will warn you, I don't do well with entitlement. A lot of this stuff that you guys get to play, unless you're a Patreon, which is, once again, huge shout out to the Patreons who kind of make this all possible. But a lot of this kind of entitlement mentality of that I've seen kind of lately, not only in my own Discord, but other Discords of I don't think that people once again understand how much goes into making a mod, and then additionally you get to play it for free, and I think that's huge. You just buy Bannerlord, and then you get to download all these kind of Game of Thrones mods, Star Wars mods, Lord of the Rings mods, stuff like that. I think that's kind of mind-boggling to me because, ladies and gentlemen, there really is no return on investment for a mod. I have not met someone that has actually made money for a mod. I put forth a lot of my own money into this mod, and if I would and everything that I do is transparent. So if someone asks me something, I tell them straight up, hey, this is how much it's going to cost you. This is what the pros and cons of using this person, or blah blah blah, just so that you don't go through the same issues that I went through. But additionally, if I paused all development on the mod and didn't pay a single penny more, and I just collected the Patreon funds, which everyone can see how much I make on Patreon. I think it's $1,000 a month now. That all goes straight back into the game, and the Patreons get to kind of decide what we do. I threw up polls, and they kind of decided to focus on Isengard and then move on to Rivendell after that. I wouldn't make back my money for about 7 to 8 years. I wouldn't start making a dime from this mod for like 7 to 8 years. And I know, like, Realm of Thrones is probably way out there. Like he's probably at like 18 years. So I kind of understand a lot more of why people do what they do as mod owners. So I just want to once again give a shout out to the Patreons to answer people's questions, community releases. So because I'm moving more to just using Patreon funds to fund this project, because once again I'm at a significant amount of money that I'm invested into this game, into this development. I've prepaid for specific things. We'll talk about that at a later point in this video. But like after those things are completed, like it's going to be moved directly only to Patreon. So right now, for like just to give people kind of an idea of what like kind of what the cost associated to this is in order to do an armor, like a kingdom's armor, fully armored out by like people, it costs about $2,000 to $2,500, like $2,500, maybe even to a little bit more than that. So if you just think about that from a math perspective, each kingdom is probably going to take 3 months to complete from just an armor perspective. That's not XMLs, that's not importing, that's not rigging, that's not weapons, that's not companions and all the other XMLs that have to get kind of stuff like that. So like you're looking at kind of a slower development model than kind of just what we've been doing, which is hiring a lot of people to do a lot of things and then like kind of putting it all together. And once again, like the development team is, besides Tyrell, like huge shout out to Tyrell and Spartan, who like kind of donate their time for free, and once again huge shout out to Tyrell, who spends his own money to get things commissioned for various different things and doing UI stuff. Like he just kind of does this out of passion. Besides those two, like once again it's just me. So like that's kind of your development team. Everyone else is kind of have like specific roles that they're doing, and then the vast majority of the work is done by myself and a couple other people. Now the reason why I do that, and yes, would I love more people to come join the team? Sure, I would love that. However, I've seen in the past, especially with these releases that have happened, kind of behind the scenes. I get to see a little bit behind the scenes. Sorry, my headset decided to turn off. I've seen kind of behind the scenes, and what happens is the more hands you have in the cookie jar, especially with XMLs, the worse it gets, because some people, once again, various different skill sets, various different things that are happening within the kind of project. One dot, like if I pull up the Lord's XML and I put a dot here, it completely doesn't load anything, and it's just very frustrating when you have like so many lines of what people would call code. I don't call XML coding, by the way, but there's 26,000 lines in here. Maybe at like line 2000 I put a dot or something like that. Like you have to go find those things. So the more hands you have in here, the more mistakes that can be made. Now I'll show you guys some things that I've learned to debug this kind of on an easier. There's some logs and stuff that you can do, but like it really just, when I tell people, like when people are like, oh, I want this, I want that, like I tell them, hey, go and do it yourself, because then you get to understand. The more that you do this, the more that you kind of understand it, and the more that you can quickly find mistakes. And that's, I think, that is kind of what's huge about this. I think that the more knowledge in the community, the more people will be willing to wait or even spend their own money to get things that they want kind of done. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on, kind of so far. But so let's kind of get into the latest and greatest changes. So first, I'll start with the project. This is on GitHub. It is available publicly, so you can go on here and kind of download it yourself and do what you need to do. There are all the XMLs that I have been working on. There's a hell of a lot more XMLs work that I need to do. I do plan to kind of go through kind of Gundor, Mordor, Rohan, and then kind of continue to see out and make sure that all the lords are good, companions are good, etc., etc., etc. It's just, once again, it's a lot of work, ladies and gentlemen. It's a lot of time, and I'm kind of pushing forward and charging forward with various different things, and I'm only one kind of person. Now, once again, can I have more people do it? Absolutely, and I would love to, kind of. I have some people that came to me today and asked to be testers and stuff like that. I'm still thinking about it. Like I just have to come up with a structure or plan so that it's not a hot mess towards kind of releases and stuff like that. Especially when you get access to the GitHub to kind of make changes, like you can really screw up everything. So, and I'm very, very strict on like who gets access to this. So as you can see, I am currently working on the campaign start. So, like, one of the things that we can go into is when you pick your culture, you get to pick where you get to kind of go. So hopefully you guys can see this. But I just get to, we kind of had some code put in that like, hey, this is where you're going to start, so that you're not like spawning Gundor and Mordor, vice versa. And I get to pick kind of what races are available for each, right? And as we add more races, obviously we'll actually, I don't know why this is there. Thanks for showing me this, because I'm gonna have to get rid of that. You shouldn't be able to get that. So yeah, so as we add more, we'll add more here, and then we obviously set the body properties that you start with. And obviously, you can change this in. You can change whatever you want in character creation. But so that's kind of cool. We're working on more than that. So kind of moving on, and I'm just gonna kind of show you guys as much as I can, so that you guys can kind of understand what's going on. This is the campaign start patch. We're gonna have to move this to where it's supposed to go, but like this is to make sure that at the end of the day, whatever you pick, whether it's like orc, whatever it is, it refreshes correctly when you save your game. Because sometimes you had that bug where you would start as an orc, you would save your game, load it later, and you would be human again. So this is the patch to make sure that that gets saved. I think that the shout out goes to Tor for this. I'm pretty sure I got it from them, or maybe Realms Forgotten, one of the two. Okay, so what is the this is just a campaign manager. We did remove the campaign with only sandbox, so you're only allowed to do sandbox. Yeah, this is once again is the campaign manager. What is this? Okay, so this is the when you first start off with your character correct selection, you get to basically we get to change what you get to see. So let's start the game here. I'm just going to start it in debug mode. When I'm diagnosing stuff, it's really nice to start in debug mode for us. This is why I tell people that like in order to really be a tester, you have to know this stuff. You have to be able to come in here and be able to work. And the reason is because like debug will tell you exactly what variables, like when you get object not referenced or null, which I absolutely hate, because I think TAOM should have like put in things to like debug this easier. We get to see the actual variables here. Let me pause there. So I get this question a lot. You didn't see it because I was too busy talking, but when this loads originally, like when you first start out the game, and it freezes at that like at the book with the guy in the right hand bottom right. Actually, let me just start it again, because I'm a visual learner and a kinetic learner, and I can't talk for shit. So. All right, so this right here is going to quickly turn over. Right now it's loading stuff, right? So now it turns over. If this freezes for you, right, and it doesn't crash, it's 100% working. Don't stop asking the question. Like, just wait. You sometimes have to wait for 30 minutes. You sometimes have to wait for an hour. It is still working. You can see it right here. My CPU is still going. Let's see. Yeah, output, you can see here, this will move here in a second. Well, it didn't. Okay, but you can see, like, it is doing stuff, right? Like, for me, it's loading faster because I play it every day, but it's loading your shaders, it's loading all your DLLs, it's loading, MCM right there, all this stuff. It is work. It will sometimes take up to an hour depending on your potato PC. If it crashes, that's a whole different story. And there's a lot of different things I'll go through in another video of crashing, right? So That campaign manager, what you see here, we did remove campaign and we only put sandbox, so that's what that does. This right here is the campaign character creation content. This is really to build out your character creation, right? So as you can move down here, this puts in specific culture feats for each culture. It also adds all the parent, childhood, education, youth, adult, and age selection menus, and we get to customize them. So that's something that I've been working on currently. Once again, shout out to Realms Forgotten for giving us this code. But we took this and I'm trying to make this as logical as possible. Like getting rid of some of the shit decisions that no one's gonna grab unless you're like LARPing for some reason, like a trader or something like that. Like I don't know, like if I don't know. So I'll get rid of some of this stuff. Like for example, Ebor as of right now, right? I'll remove. Let me see, let me find Ebor. Like Ebor doesn't have writing, so like I don't know why. Like yeah, so you can see here I changed it. Like they don't have writing, so like I don't know why you would have writing in here. I just added crossbows, so maybe I should add crossbows back. But if you don't use crossbows, I take crossbows out, like Mordor, right? I'll probably take crossbows out of Mordor. It just doesn't make sense because you're not going to be able to purchase any crossbows in Mordor. Just you're not. Well, does Mordor have crossbows? I think they only have bows. But you get the point, right? So like this allows us to kind of customize what you see on that screen. So I'm just going to enter the Age of Men here. This is going to load. Or it's going to crash. It's going to do one of the two, right? I may have changed some things that I didn't test before doing this video, so that's great. Start bonuses. We're going to be working on this. So what we have to do is, and as you can see, this is also taken from Realms Forgotten. So once again, shout out to them. I do know that sometimes you guys start off bottom left right here, you guys can see kind of what's happening. We'll talk about this in a second. But I do know that some cultures, especially the custom cultures, do start off naked, and they do start off with basically 1,000 gold, I think is what it is. We are working on that. That is a priority for this month or next month to get pushed out, so that each default start type, which is right here, gets their own specific kind of layout. So and also depending on the culture, right? So working on that. We are working still on the culture strength and weaknesses. Once again, trying to balance them, making sure that they are kind of in line with the lore. But just know that if you do kind of go to some of these custom cultures, you will have a harder start, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go with these guys. So yep, you guys already seen I changed that body prop, so this is what you're gonna kind of look like, and you guys can go through your own kind of what you want it to do. This is taking a long time for me to load, right? So the reason why is once again it's loading all the shaders. I don't really use these guys, so it's going to take some time to load. I already kind of talked about the last kind of code that we were working on. So all these are kind of customized to that religion. Sorry, that culture, that religion. Jesus. We do have our own kind of banners in here, and I will be, and once again shout out to Knox and his team for giving us all these colors down here, but we are importing this in. I will show you guys how to do that. We're lazy here, so we didn't import the images in or save them, but these ones we did. But we'll add a ton more. It's very difficult to get a 2D artist that actually understands Lord of the Rings. Like I got a lot of 2D artists, but like they're all like not Lord of the Rings people, so like their work is just somewhat kind of crazy, man. Like I was asking for someone to do like Duneland and like and Duneland, and we'll talk about this I guess in a second too, but Duneland's kind of based off of animals. So like I was like, hey man, can you give me like a tribal bear, a tribal wolf, like a raven, something like. In the shit that I got was absolutely outrageous, and I could just tell that like. Then I had Mordor, right? I had someone try to come in and do Mordor ones, and I had to like basically do it myself. I had to like literally go and grab this picture and say, this is what I want, take this and do your magic in Adobe. But yeah, it was very difficult because what they were giving me, it was pretty bad. But yeah, anyways, let's go with this. This is probably my favorite icon so far. We'll just do this, sure, and yeah. All right, so now we're gonna load into the game. And as I do that, I'll continue talking about the code on the left-hand side. All right, so obviously cultural feats. I don't think that I need to really talk about that too much. This is where cultural feats are. Keeping down, this is events. We're going to be, once again, kind of moving this into features, but events is a part of the momentum kind of theme that we're building out, or the mechanic that we're building out. The mechanic is basically, we're gonna, obviously we have to change it so that we force the wars, right? So that, like, specific wars are happening, and we're not gonna have specific people targeting, like, alliances, if you will, right? Good versus evil. And then, as you can see here, some of you guys can probably recognize this. This is where we set those events that pop up, and you can see a lot more. I didn't put all these into the game just because I like to test, and I like to get to the game as quickly as possible in order to test it as quickly as possible. But as you can see, there's a lot more events that will pop up once it gets a little bit more refined. But this is, once again, all a part of that diplomacy mechanic and the momentum mechanic, so that we can start our own kind of thing. This is, once again, just starting to set the alliances and stuff like that, and once again, also more events leading up to the War of the Ring, right? So the Council of Rivendell, etc., etc. This is just, once again, I don't really need to talk about that, but there's a lot of features that are, we set a race bonus feature. This is going to be configurable by JSON, so here's the configuration. And we're giving you guys references of, like, what you can do to kind of set all the rules that you want. So you can give it a name, and then once again, you just use the references to pick out what you want. Elf is not here yet, so I'm going to have to make an elf. But anyways, long story short is, I'm making this configurable so that you guys can set it. I will have my own default ones in here, but you guys will be able to configure this on your own. So that will be all the race bonuses, and there's a lot more that kind of is involved in there. There's village production, troop wages, stuff like that. It's very, very customizable. So Chewy did an awesome job with this kind of system. Startup funds, we talked about this previously. As you can see, I set up the startup funds. I set it up pretty high. What I want to, yeah, 5 million for the elves. So there are settlements, or kingdoms, excuse me, that will only have one settlement, right? So like Isengard, it's going to be pretty difficult. So we had to add further lords. One, our troops go up to level 51. They cost, obviously, a progressive amount. So, like, level 51 is not going to be cheap to either maintain or to recruit. And so some of these actually start like with like at level 36 or whatever. So let's see, where is it? Mirkwood. Let's go to Mirkwood real quick. And let's see. Yeah, so what are these guys? They start at tier 7, right? And then tier 8, tier 9, 10. So they're expensive, right? So they're going to cost you quite a bit to recruit. How much? 1,500. So to get a full 20 stack, you're going to need 15,000 gold, right? Did I do that right? I don't think I did that right. No, you're going to need 30,000 gold, right? So that's going to be rough if you're starting off with 1,000 gold. So once again, I start the lords out because they have the same problem that we have. I start the lords out with money, and that's what I pointed to in the bottom left when we first started the game. You guys can see that, and we can come in here, and I'm going to monitor this and make sure that it's correct. So that is the way that we kind of figured out to help with lords losing troops, or not just basically not doing anything because they couldn't afford it. So now that we made that change, now lords go out and do recruiting. Also, one of the things that you're going to see here is, so for Isengard, they have 20 notables. The reason why is because I need them to be able to recruit, and if they have, I don't know, 10 to 15 lords in Isengard recruiting from one place and 2 villages isn't going to be enough, especially if this is getting kind of like sieged or whatever. So we're going to add some notables to the villages. We may add some outposts out here as castles. Most likely we're going to add those things, probably right here, maybe going into the forest, Fangorn Forest, maybe some out here in Dunland, so that they don't get kind of attacked by Rohan, because Rohan will come with huge stacks to come and take on some sweet cheeks, some sweet Orakai and Berserker cheeks. But yeah, so that is kind of the startup funds, and kind of the explanation between that. Trade bound fix, so that was basically something that is map related, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The long story short is there's a lot of calculations that happen that need to be patched. So when you're doing like in the very beginning of the game, it's going to take a very long time to load. Once again, trying to warn you again, because what happens is it does a settlement by settlement distance. So like each settlement goes through its own thing and does a cache to basically say, okay, if my guy is in Isengard and he needs to go to wherever, this one up top, he knows the distance that it's going to take to get there. And then the trade goods, it does. There's a lot of distance module calculations that happen. So that is supposed to fix that, and also it does it for trade goods because it spawns trade goods. And where does trade goods need to go? There's a lot of things that are happening in there that you guys can go take a look at. Troop weights, what this does is basically, and it's configurable right here, you're not going to be able to walk around with a doom stack of cave trolls. We're going to set this pretty high, so like one cave troll should equal, right now it's 5 troops. We might increase it depending on how strong they are, especially with, same thing with Rivendell, and I'm going to have to change this, but Rivendell and all the elves, all the dwarfs are going to be probably weighted a little bit differently than, regular humans. So you're just not, once again, it matters. They are pretty strong. There might be power creep involved, but that is kind of happening right here. I can go through all the models, but ladies and gentlemen, there's a ton of them. I'll just go over kind of the things that are kind of important. Volunteer. This is our how we do our recruiting. So we get to pick. It kind of does a kind of a hierarchy. So it goes down to clan. If the clan is not present, maybe they get destroyed. Then it goes down to settlement. And if the settlement is not there or whatever, it then defaults back to culture. So basically what this is doing is it's just picking what is spawning where. So like this is the default. Like if for some reason the settlement or the culture is the settlement's owned by Gundor, and there's for some reason the clan's disappeared or whatever happens, it's going to default back to these things. So I got to make sure that these are all right. I think that it loaded, so it's going to be right. But also we get to set the kind of the logic with, like, for Isengard specifically, this clan's going to spawn this troop at this percentage. So it's like 80% Uruk-hai recruits, and then 20% nobles. And I gotta see if this is the first noble in there. This might be pretty high. I might have to change this. But anyways, and what this actually gets us to do is, kind of, we were thinking about this for Gundor, right? Because like Gundor has a lot of regions, so I want to be able to spawn those troops in those specific regions. Another thing that we're doing in the future here, and it's going to be kind of a priority for us, is right now those party templates, and I'll show you those party templates right here. Kingdoms set party templates. Or party templates are set by kingdom, is how I should say it. So you get to set, let me see, right here, boom, party templates. I'll just go to Gundor real quick, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so this is where we set how the NPCs pick their parties, and I haven't looked at specifically the model that how randomized it is, but I set a min value and a max value, and I get to set like all of the things. I want to, instead of setting this to kingdom, I wanted to set it to lords, so that like if you're in Doth Amroth, like it's going to be all like all of their lords are going to be kind of spawning with Swan Knights and stuff like that. So that's the next kind of step to this kind of project that we have going on. So we get to set it by clan, which I think is pretty freaking cool. Great. And then also Rohan's going to get its own little version. We'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess. Let's see. Next thing is Bennett density model. The long story short is people were crying about the Bennetts, and I understand there weren't a lot, but I was looking at it and it wasn't really spawning. I think this was like the minimum number that was spawning was like 3 or 5 or something like that. Anyways, I put 20. So one of the things that you can do here is, in order to see that, I just changed the Bennett density model, and I think that a lot of mods actually do that. A lot of total overhaul mods do it from what I was looking at. I'm just going to show the hideouts right here. So, spoiler alert, you're going to see all the hideouts. But we put them all around, and then I changed the logic. So these are not infested. That's what that means. And let's see. I'm just trying to figure out which one is infested. None of those are infested. Okay. Maybe I need the... Is this going? I'm just seeing if it... That's weird that none of them are infested. Okay, let me find one that's infested. Hold on. Wow. I'm not finding any of them that are infested. Oh, there's nothing up there. We're gonna have to change that. Is there anything over here? Hideouts, hideouts, hideouts. Okay. Maybe it takes. I think it because I've just started the game. Maybe it takes a little bit to spawn the bandits, so I'm gonna have to play it a little bit. Let me go wait in the city for a little bit. But anyways, what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot more bandits camps around, and I'm spawning a lot more, and they're stacked a little bit differently. Additionally, Dunlin is gonna have Rohan bandits. Rohan's gonna have Dunlin bandits, and then Gundor's gonna have Harad and Umbar bandits. And what you're gonna do is you're going to actually face those people, right? So you're gonna face those kingdom troops, low-level troops, right? From like 6 to 16. I set that by the party templates, so you guys already seen that. But like you have the potential to have like some elite kind of bandits in there raiding, so we call them like raiders or whatever. Here's the event that we were talking about. It does pop up. You can read it and kind of click through it. But like that gives you a good kind of timeline of what's going on. Another thing that you can do is you can come in here the options, go here to mod options, go here and then set the date for all this. You can turn it off, turn it on. You can set debug mode. I'm not going to do it because the last time I was playing around and doing a video and I exited out and it was not good. I exited out of my game. But anyways, you can set the momentum. You can set all this stuff up here. If you want Isengard to attack Rohan and Dunlin and Isengard to attack Rohan day 1, you can set it up here. We kind of make that customizable. We're also going to make the War of the Rings customizable pretty soon. That's the next thing on the list to do. But yeah, bandits are going to be difficult-ish. They're not going to be looters. Besides, if you do criminals, like those are going to be obviously looters. We're going to be changing some things, but I thought that would be pretty cool to be like, if you're in, kind of Rohan, to be like have Dunland raiders kind of going on. Kind of moving on. I think that's pretty much notable spawns. Not really. I mean, party sizes, wages, nothing else there. We have momentum. We have a lot of patches here. And you guys will learn more about this as you guys get into the game. But yeah, I think that's all the code that I kind of wanted to show. We have a lot of patches going on, a lot of models that we've redone, and you guys will learn the difference between our models. So like Tile Worlds has their own models, and what we're doing with the models is we're completely replacing the model. So like it just completely, like if it has our bandit density model. So there's a bandit density model in Tile Worlds code, and I'm like literally completely replacing it with my own model. But the patches, all that does is exactly what you think. It just patches either a method within that model. It just doesn't replace the whole model. It only does specific little things within there. So that's kind of the difference. And sometimes you have to do various different things to figure out is it best to patch it or is it best to do a model replacement. So yeah, so let's talk about the map. Yes, the map is not fully complete. I prioritize real life over the game, and I don't like to burn out my guys that I'm commissioning. So Swan did an excellent job so far on the map. He did it region by region. So he first did Gundor, then he went to Rohan, and then he went to Mordor, and then he did Dinland and Isengard, and now Black Rose is kind of focusing on the north of the map. So like, we can go in here, we can see DG here in all of its glory. I think that he did an awesome job. We got the, kind of stuff going on. Oh, see, that is infested. So that's now infested. It will change. Don't worry about that's runes attacking DG, but whatever, close your eyes. But like this will have rune raiders in it and have various different things, so you have Lorraine over here. We're working on the map icon for this one. It's going to be trees and stuff like that, so I think that's going to be pretty cool. That Timber's kind of doing. Yeah, we have custom map icon for that. Mirkwood is the map icon being done. This is actually going to move down here. Kind of at this river crossing, if you will, in a hill/mountain kind of area. So we put it there for reasons, but like we're gonna move it down here. Don't worry. Gundabad's out here. They're gonna be pretty busy. My plan is, so there's woodsmen over here that are kind of neutral. There's also men over here that we're gonna put in, not a priority for those two. One of the things I kind of want to look into is putting spiders as kind of bandit camps around here and setting them to probably be pretty aggressive towards taking on anyone that kind of gets in the forest except DG. We'll see what happens with that, but I would love to get some kind of spiders into the game that are kind of attacking you. So we'll see what happens with that. Kind of like what Realm of Thrums did with rights and wits and stuff like that. rights, Jesus. So yeah, then we got Ebor, we got Dale. Dell is pretty huge, and we did combine Ebor and Iron Hills. So as you guys can see, Ebor and Iron Hills are one kingdom, but two different lines. We'll talk about that in a bit. And I will say that Ruin does come over here and attack Ebor, and Ebor has, in my last gameplay, Ruin went straight for a Yarnfrost and took it over, and then Ebor came over here in the middle of this shit stack and took over whatever the fuck this is. We're gonna change these names, but yeah, took over that. And then Ruin is kind of next on the list from a map perspective to be built out, and then we're gonna go build out this. I forget what this is called. It's kind of like RHO blah blah blah. There are men here. We'll see what happens, what we can do. Because one of the things that we have to think about is the density of good and bad, because we don't want the dwarves to be steamrolling Rune, and also Dale to be steamrolling, and also Mirkwood to be steamrolling, then Gundabad, stuff like that. We do have Rivendell over there. Rohan should have a pretty good time with Dunlin and Isengard. I'm going to keep these guys busy with probably goblins and stuff like that from Moria and some other goblins that were kind of like in this area. Mount Gundabad, I'm probably going to be pretty thick boys to be able to take on all this. Like, there's 3 kingdoms here. It's going to be pretty difficult for Gundabad and DG. I'm going to have them go both ways, because Lorien's going to be quite difficult also for them to go 1v1. So it's going to be very interesting what we do. I don't know what we're going to do with this yet, how we're going to figure that out, if it's going to be levels, if it's going to be armor, weapons, or just making them plentiful. We also did change the auto-resolve. That's, I guess, another thing I could have showed you guys, is we did change the auto-resolve equation. So we're going to make that configurable so that we can kind of pick and choose, kind of balance, if you will. So there's that. Obviously, we got Mordor going on. Soon after we get done with Ruin, I want to get down to Khand, and then Harad and Ungbar, and then that should be basically the map. Now, there are stuff south. This is more of like kind of like a, I forget what it's called, but like I was told that this is more like the Byzantine Empire kind of concepts are down here. I think that we're gonna have to add this into the game to keep these fuckfaces busy, because they may not go up to Gondor because of a distance thing. Maybe it depends on where we put it, right? Khand, I think I'm actually gonna keep them neutral. They were mercenaries, and they have a history of attacking Rune and attacking Harad, so I might keep them neutral and just have mercenaries be hired. I don't know. They're definitely going to be their own kingdom, but they might just keep all these guys busy also. Especially like, kind of right now, my thought process is, in order to keep these two busy, is have this kingdom go against these two. Some of the best cav in the game should be, coming from these guys. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. For those people with the map, the reason why we're doing it region by region, once again, burnout, I will show you why later on, like, so people just don't understand how to make a map. They don't understand all the time and resources that gets into it, all the annoyances that happen. And so I really want to show that, so that people can become a little bit more educated on, like, okay, I now know why they did things that they the way that they did. And you're not sitting there like, oh, like, I don't understand why you completed the map. This is bullshit, blah blah blah. Like, no, there's a reason. It takes time. It's annoying to fix all these bugs and all this other stuff, right? So, and what you see now may not be the final state that it's in. So what I mean by that is, yes, Gondor's done, but I'm not saying that this is the final way that Gondor is going to be looking, right? So this whole process is about iteration. So, like, my thing is about pushing forward, right? I want to tackle this north. I have Leo V doing Mirkwood armor right now, and then he's going to be moving into Lorien armor. He already finished Rivendell armor. Keyforce finished Ebor armor and Iron Hills armor. He's moving on to DG and Mount Gundabad, which is going to come with 2 additional races, Pal Orcs, and then whatever the fuck these orcs are going to be called. And I kind of have an idea. I did pick, and people can put in their own. Anyways, people can put in their own little comments, but like this, I did see this kind of this guy did, and I thought that this looked awesome. So this might be a base mesh. I think that this looks fucking just rad. Would be pretty fucking cool to see these guys on the battlefield as our base mesh for one of those orcs. So Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome. Keyforce said that he would like to take that challenge on. I haven't reached out to this guy yet to see if he's willing to do anything, but this is a Gundabad kind of pal orc. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Those do cost a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. To put these races into the game, it's a hell of a lot of work and a hell of a lot of money. If you're using human skeleton, a lot less. But if you're doing your own custom, like we did with the dwarf, it was annoying. Not something I kind of want to do. Trolls doing that. That we have that on the list with their own animations. We do have some trolls in the game already for in Moldor, not in Isengard. But yeah, so that's kind of like what's going to be the focus. I will see what I want to do with Dale. Like I told you guys in the beginning here, it's going to take about 3 months to do each armor set because of how much it costs. And if you're only using Patreon money, it's going to take, kind of 3 months to do each armor set. I did prepay for some of this stuff that already be done, like the Iron Hills, Ebor, Arkwood, and Lorien. I already prepaid for all that stuff to be done, but these two kind of still have to be paid, so that's, $5,000 right there. So like, what's that? 6 months worth of Patreon to get done before we can probably get those punched out. So that's why that's why the development's going to slow down, right? So the community releases are going to go basically to what is normal. So if you look at like kind of Tor, their last community release was in October of last year. Realm of Thrones just did one in March. I don't know when their last one was, like in 2024 sometime. So like we're kind of like on par. Depending on when Tor releases another kind of season of Doom or whatever it's going to be called. That we're kind of on par with other kind of mods at this time. I just wanted to I put forth a lot of my own money to try to get this pushed out as fast as possible so that people can see that we're pretty serious about it, and kind of get the hype train going and be able to just play. I think that you can do a full campaign, multiple full campaigns in this, and have a grand old time depending on what your end state is. But enough talking about that. Let's move on to kind of what we have. So this is Dunlin. Swan did an excellent job over here. Nav mesh is done for this place. Also, so one of the things about Dunlin was that I wanted to kind of base them off of animals. So you got the boar, you got the dragons, you got the ox, you got the bears, you got the stags and the ravens and the lizards. That kind of comes from, I think, Lord of the Rings Online. And one of the things I did with them is I did kind of specialize them in. That's kind of like what I was thinking about, and I kind of specialized these troop trees into specific things. So like, and you get to recruit them from specific regions, right? So kind of like going back to that Gundor regions that are specialized into different things. Same thing with Dunlin. Clans are specialized. So like Wolf will be like sword and shield, right? Bear is going to be two-handed, kind of axes. I think that these are lizards. I have to go. Nope, this is stag because Karu. So they're going to be, kind of lancers. These guys, which are lizards, are going to be. I think they're lizards. Don't quote me on that. Are going to be, kind of two-handed, kind of axe wielders, but on mounts, cavalry that are two-handed, right? So you guys can see each one kind of has its own little different flavor, its own little different kind of strength or weaknesses. Let's see, who are these guys? Yeah, so we have like a whole kind of archer kind of line. These guys are noble archers. Sorry, not noble archers. I apologize. There are horse archers, right? And then these guys are kind of like their, Dunlin's archers. And we may, once again change the, because I do know that in the books and stuff like that, they were like, oh, they're a bunch of rabble, they're, savages, blah blah blah. But I get that, but we had a hell of a lot of armor. That's the same thing. We had a hell of a lot of armor that Keyforce did, and I didn't want it to go to waste, so that's kind of what I did. This is the normal Dunlin line that kind of focuses on what we've seen in the game or the tabletop game. So Wild Men. Once again, not a lot of that is known about this, but like this is kind of the basic troop trees that kind of spawns. But for those clan ones, they have their own kind of specific thing. So you have the boars, they're more of the kind of spear and shield. You got the pikemen, once again, they have two-handed. Wait a minute. They should have pikes. That's weird. I'm gonna have to go look into that. I don't know why. I don't know. I have to go look. They should have pikes. Not. Yeah, and then we have crossbows. Um, but yeah, so once again, each clan specializes into their own thing. You'll see that theme happening a lot here recently. I just think that that's pretty cool. I'm trying to still stick to strength and weaknesses. I'm trying to because I think that it is important that you know that not like Rohan's not good at everything, right? They're pretty much known for their cav, so let's just keep them cav. But there's not a lot of lore on Dunlin. This is a Rohan cube that's gonna get absolutely slammed in the beginning of the game. That's gonna be great. But yeah, so we got a lot of room to play with on the left-hand side. So let's go over here to Rohan. One of the things I kind of want to re-look at is the gap of Rohan, make this a little bit more lore accurate. The problem that we have is there's 15,000 maps out there, and everyone thinks that their map is the more lore accurate. So it's kind of hard. Once again, this is not final. It's just what we have now. We have to continue pushing on to try to get the game, a playable state so that everyone can, kind of enjoy it. But this is Rohan. It is power creeped by now. It was one of the first nations that were. Oh, well, that's great. It was one of the first nations that I did do. So, as you can see, they'll have strong bowmen, definitely have horse archers and stuff like that. I think that they're going to have to get refreshed here. I like their armor. There's a lot of armor variations and stuff like that that we either commissioned or received from Shadows of the Past. Once again, I think that at the end of the day, one of the things I want to do is I want to start breaking this up like we did into regions, East Fold, West Fold, et cetera. West Met in the East, and then kind of like color code them. So royals are going to be green and gold. Then we're going to have green and white, red and white, red and gold and white for different regions, right? So I'm still trying to plan that out, but I think that's what I'm going to want to do, and I think that we can accomplish that with grayscale. So a lot of this cloth will turn to grayscale. So depending on where you are, well, depending on your armor, and then later on we might get very, very specific into what they're going to be kind of known for, like maybe the west is known for their horses and the east is known for their infantry or bows or spears or whatever it is. Like we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's Rohan, and then let's see, here's the noble line. So you have swordsmen with that, and then you have horsemen with swords, and then horsemen with spears or lances. I think that this is going to be their noble line. So a lot of horse, a lot of cav, and I think it shows in their party templates also. So that's kind of cool. One of the things I did see here is we do have specific armor for these guys. We just completed the Elkenbrand armor. Here we go. Where are we? I know. Okay, how about this? We'll do it this way because I can't do the little asterisk E or whatever the heck it is. Where are you, Rohan? We did just finish Elkenbrand. We do have his armor in game for Theoden. We do also have his. I just commissioned his shield and his sword's already in game, and we'll show that a little bit later. But this is pretty cool. His armor, like Igor did an amazing job. Shout out to him. Also looking for probably work. Great guy to work with. Where is... Okay, can I go back to this? Let's see. Nope. I did just change... This is weird. Where are you? Oh, it's here, aren't you? Yeah. I just changed these guys. Yes, they are wearing the same armor as Theoden. I do have two captain armors that I might put on them. I just wanted to kind of... They have their own swords. And I'm getting their spears in game. So, kind of working on that right now. But they have their own swords in game currently. I'll show that here a little bit later. But that's Rohan. Once again, I think that we're just gonna have to do another pass through there to make sure that they're not getting absolutely slaughtered. One of the cool things that I kind of did was make kind of travel routes through the cities for these guys, but this is Gundor. I have seen in my last gameplay that Mordred did come over here and try to take MT, and one of the things that's kind of cool is, once again, you can come through here. Once again, kind of adds some strategic things to the game. But yeah, also the same thing. Let's look at their troop trees. Let's go up here. You know, you're going to have their regular troop tree all the way up to Citadel and Fountain Guards. Might make this, might change this, might cut it off here at Veteran, and then make these guys only be able to be recruited at MT. Is what I'm probably thinking about, but we'll see. As you can see, we have, you know, kind of regular archers, regular knights, nothing kind of fancy, nothing kind of specialized, if you will. Kind of cut off pretty early at, I think, tier 5, tier 4, excuse me. And then we kind of get into more specialized per region, right? So as you guys can see, you know, we got custom weapons in, custom helmets. We will be working on the armor per region here soon. Tyrell's, you know, kind of pioneering that. But as you can see, we're doing it by region so that you guys can kind of have a different variety of what's happening. You know, we got pikemans over here, some of the best bowmen that they say by lore are, you know, on par with elves. Some of their best people are on par with elves. So we kind of like once again try to bring that back to the forefront. I think that with party templates or at the Lord level instead of the Kingdom level, this will be pretty significant kind of change. We got PG kind of in here, and then we got Doth Amoroth, you know, all the way up to the kind of Swan Knights, looking pretty fleek. We do have 3 new Swan Knight armors that we're going to get into the game to kind of like change this up a little bit for this. And then we do have Athelian Rangers. Once again, shout out to here's the Noble line right here that splits off into Swan Knights and Athelian Rangers. Once again, may change this up. We'll see what happens now that I did this originally without the code for the custom recruits and stuff like that, volunteer model and militia. So long story short is this is the reason why I did that. But you know, shout out to Shadows of the Paths for giving us access to their models and stuff like that for this. You know, did an awesome job with that. Then shout out to Leo V for his work on, and then CJ for his work on this. So as you can see, there's custom horse armor here, 2 different custom horse armors. Gundoor has another custom horse armor there. You know, color change there, and then the last kind of regular Gundam armor right there. I think the same thing for Rohan, if I'm not crazy. Yeah, so Rohan has their own custom armor too. Nope, that's okay. I'm gonna have to get their custom armor in. We do have custom armor for Rohan. Yeah, there it is. You can see it. I just want to make. I may have not have changed all 14 variations. Okay, I'm gonna have to add that to my list because I do have a lot of Rohan armor that I got into the game. I just don't remember if I put it on or not. But also, what's his face has his own horse armor too. Theoden has his own horse armor in game. So, yep, there's that for Gundoor. Moving on to Mordor, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for Mordor in terms of troops. It's a hell of a lot of an undertaking. We right now have orc grunts. Then we have the black orcs over here. You know, kind of encompassing this. Now for Mordor, just because I didn't have a Ruin or Harald built out, I did allow them to be able to recruit them, just so that you guys can face them in game. Ruin does have a couple different armors. This is wrong. This should all be horse archers. I think I copy pasted something wrong. Did this wrong, anyways. Weird. So I'm gonna have to make these back to camel horse archers. But as you can see, I just put this into the Mordor line so that you guys can play with them. I think this is pretty cool. So each one of these have different custom horse armor. But once again, once we build this out, Mordor will obviously lose access to them. And they'll go to their own kingdoms. But I just wanted to, you know, kind of show you guys, or at least allow you guys to see them in game, so you guys can see there's about 4 or 5 different Ruin horse armors that are pretty cool. So shout out to Rush, excuse me, for knocking those out. And right now we're working on the weapons, and we'll do a refresh of the weapons that we currently have and do some more. So Solos is going to work on that, and then Igor is going to complete the Rohan line the Rohan armors later down the line. Harad, once again, has their own line. Once again, Igor did an amazing job with, doing different armors for this. I think that's pretty freaking cool. Each one of these are going to be grayscale too, so that it will match, kind of colors. We did select some static colors, but they'll have their own little colors. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. I think that there's like serpent guards here. Serpent guards, yeah. So once again, you got some serpent guards. I don't know where the heck they went. Okay, oh, here they are. So yeah, just continuing down the line, serpent archers. We'll get war chariots in the game at some point. We'll get the war elephants in the game at some point. But yeah, so what I got in the game, and I just like to showcase it in Mordor so that you guys can play with it. I think that there's an orc in here somewhere. Where the hell's the troll? I'm sorry, I said orc. I meant troll. Yeah, I got the orcs. We're gonna need some work. I got this. It's gonna need some work. Like I said, there's a lot of work to be done for orcs and the Black Nomarians. Where the heck is my cave troll? I don't think you guys can recruit it. Or maybe you guys don't see it. Yeah. So cave trolls, there they are. They have 5 different weapons. My Bam Bams are here. I'll show you guys that, probably later on. But yeah, so that's kind of Mordor. We kind of already went over here. Let's do from a map perspective. We went over here. Let's go look at this. My favorite. So you'll have Iron Hills recruits, and you'll also have Ebor recruits spawning from the same location. Different trees though. So axes. Of what their specialty for Ebor, a lot of axes, shields. So another thing that Keyforce has said that he's willing to do is change this armor or make an additional armor blue and gold for Ebor. So I'm thinking blue and gold and green and gold and red and gold and all this other stuff. So blue and gold and green and gold, I think it will be pretty good for Ebor. Red, you'll see the Iron Hills is going to be obviously different, but here, kind of wanted to give them spears and stuff like that. They have throwing weapons. This guy has this is not done. These were just to be tests. I haven't really filled these out yet. So these armors will be changed. But as you can see, pretty cool helmet. I can't wait to see what you guys do with the dwarves. Shield breakers with the hammers. There's two-handed axes. Legionaries with spears. So yeah, so you got spears, you got axes and hammers, and you got the one-handed axes and shields. Then you got, once again, just some bow archers. Nothing too fancy here. Some short bows. But they also are pretty good in melee. Kind of be careful with that. So they tend to like to charge if you don't control them very well. But that's Ebor. Going to troops, let's go with, oh wow, we got a lot more troops to go. Going to, oh shit, we didn't even do Isengard. Oh my god. Yeah, so once again, we got Iron Hills here. I just completed this. Shout out to Keyforce. Wonderful job. I'm not stuck on any names. If people want to change names, I don't care. It's very easy for me to change names. But I thought that it was pretty cool to kind of name them after Doran's hammers, or ironclads, Danes, reavers, mithrils, matlocks are pretty cool to look at. And then these guys have crossbows, right? So 2 different crossbows. You guys can look at these in game. I think that they're just magnificent to look at here. Moving on to Mirkwood once again, or let's go to Isengard first. Isengard does have 2. Okay, so Isengard does have 2 different base meshes. The first base mesh is going to be the regular Orokai. As you guys can see, there's 50 different. It's taking a long time to load because there's 50 different variations. Yeah, this is going to take the longest. It's going to take a while. But base, which is going to be, you'll see character. And then additionally, a second. Let's make sure that it didn't. Yep, still loading. Right. So I didn't load all these shaders. We might cut down on that 50 to something a little bit more reasonable. So I'm not sitting here loading all day long. My CPU is still at 100. Thank you. All right. So yeah, CPU is still processing. So it's not just you guys. Anyways, moving on, we got the Berserker, true to his form, and then we got the kind of only elite troop, which is the Berserker with that's armored. Um, got your various different kind of units in there. I think that Keyforce, when I seen this armory, my jaw would hit the floor. It was just that beautiful. And I think that he did an awesome job. Crossbowmen, two-handed, and then you got the kind of bows. I think we have to fix the position on those bows just from the pictures. Working on that. And then we got the Org Riders. Shout out to Alliance for allowing us to use their orgs. Their wargs, excuse me. I will get these guys armor. It's just I think I was lazy at the time. I just wanted to get it in for you guys. I'll get these guys armored up just with the Mordor orc armor or Moria armor, excuse me. And you guys will be able to kind of play around with those and use those as mounts. So pretty cool for Isengard. Moving on to Mirkwood. Mirkwood only is currently being flushed out right now from an armor perspective, but this is the Palace Guard. Has its own sword, shield, spear, bows, quivers, arrows. So that's kind of basically what will be completed of Mirkwood. From reading the books, they weren't as heavily armored as Rivendell, and neither was Lorien. So that's going to be pretty interesting to look at or think about. Let's go with Rivendell. So this is Rivendell. Troop tree, it has a lot of armor, ladies and gentlemen. It has like 20 different chest plates. I do have to fix this. So I'm going to have to write that down. But yeah, so it has a lot of different armor, about 20 different body, 5 or 6 different helmets per kind of. There's an archer helmet, there's a cav helmet, there's an infantry helmet. There's a lot that's going on that Leo V did. Excellent job. Horse archers, lancers, and I think there's the noble troops are high captains. Okay, you're not going to allow me to do that. That's fine. Let me see. I think the noble troops are high captains, yeah. So, as you can see, the noble troops will be silver and gold. Silver outlined in gold. I think that's pretty cool. A look. Are all those the same? Okay, I don't think that we've played around with this, but they will be silver and gold. We just haven't changed this. And let me see if I have this open. Yeah, so I think that once again, just trying to show you guys the complete Rivendell, because that was the second to last one that was just released. Iron Hills was the last one that was released. So yeah, so you got a lot of different variations, as you can see. Hopefully you can see. Maybe I can make it bigger, but a lot of different variations. This is the Lord armor. I think that this is pretty freaking sweet. If it opens. This is the Lord armor. This is one of the Lord armors. Let's see, what is the next one at? It's just taking a long time to load for some reason. Come on. Please. Yeah, so this is the second Lord armor, and then here's the third. And then Linden and Rivendell are going to share the same armors. One, because I'm going to save cost, but two, it just makes sense. And it's not going to let me. See, this is the editor, right? It won't even let me get rid of this. Oh, you piece of crap. It won't let me exit out of it. Anyways, see, editor problems. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is going to be same thing that we did here. This is silver, though. So this will be Linden. So once again, same kind of thing. We got helmets, boots, etc., etc. And then we got the silver and gold. One of the things that you'll learn as you're kind of commissioning is how to take some of the assets and just change the textures. Changing the textures are pretty easy to do. So you can have like this one model, and I can change it to silver and gold. I can change it to silver. I can change it to purple, green, blue, whatever. And I can have so many different armors in different armor variations. But as you can see, once again, a lot for Rivendell is going to be the same for Mirkwood and same for Lorien. And then Linden will have the silver one of this. Let's look at Iron. So here's all the Iron Hills. As you can see, Keyforce went ham on Iron Hills. And each one of these, ladies and gentlemen, is its own entry in XML. So when people are like, well, why is it taking you so long? Well, because I have to put each one of these individually in. I have to do the cloth sim and have to do all this other work in order to get into the game. And then I have to then add these into the troop trees individually, right? So like, I have to like pick and choose who's getting what and make sure I don't reuse something. So yeah, it takes a little bit. Let's go into the horse armors. Yeah, so here's some horse armors that will be on Rohan soon. Since I think I forgot about that, just going through them quickly. You guys can see more in game. I think that pretty good job by, once again, Soul Rush did awesome job rigging it and stuff like that and doing it. Ruin, once again, kind of the iconic stuff that we've seen. But yep. Moving on to who else? Yeah, weapons. I think that we have a lot of weapons. Here's all the weapons for Ebor, all the weapons for Iron Hills. You have a ton of different variations, and that's what I kind of like, and that's what I call it to kind of tell the team is give me the ability to make as many variations as I can. And this is all Soul Rush, except the Ebor and Iron Hills are Keyforce. But we have a lot of. Oh, yeah. Let me go show you my personal favorite. Um, when you load, when you have cheats on and you load the inventory, please wait. Please give it some time. Don't like you'll see like right now you see I clicked the inventory and it's been about 30 seconds and it still hasn't loaded. Like give it some time. It's gonna load. Mine loads faster than yours because once again I do play around with it a lot. So my shaders are pretty much all loaded. But as you can see, we have this a massive armory of weapons. Um, and kind of one of my, I mean, I don't even know what I'm gonna do with all of these weapons. Like, look at this. I mean, Iron Hills has a metric shit ton of weapons, and that's not even all of them. I can go in vice versa. I can interchange Iron Hills and Ebor weapons, like shafts and guards and all this other stuff, so we can even make more. You got the Isengard. Here's my favorite kind of sword that Soul Rush has done so far. I'm going to be doing dirty, nasty things to people with this. Look at that beauty. Oh, look at that sword. Just amazing. Wow. Anyways, Mirkwood stuff. Legolas is in here. We got Rings of Power, swords. Um, let's see, what's this? Yeah, that one. This is the original sword, elf sword. So you'll see this in game on some of the people. Once again, Mordor stuff. Let's see. We got Sauron's mace? Yes, we're gonna make this bigger. We just haven't figured out how big Sauron's gonna be, but that will be sized appropriately, just like Bam Bam. Here's my Bam Bam. So these are what are on my trolls. So if you do get hit by those things, I'm sorry. These are my Bam Bams. But yeah, so these are all the troll weapons. um, God, that's gonna be sick. All the Black Orc weapons. We got some Rivendell weapons. There's a metric shit ton of, two-handed Numorian swords. Once again we'll fill out Rune. We're still filling out a Rivendell. There's just once again a lot of stuff's coming in. There is Rohan stuff in here. Theoden's sword, looking beautiful. Um, Oh, there it is. These swords are in, and finally on their people. But yeah, so a lot of that, a lot of armor, a lot of custom shields, as you can see, kind of going through here. Once again, I'm scrolling through this because my shaders are loaded. When you open this up and you scroll through, you're gonna crash. So you're gonna have to just let it load for 1 or 2 minutes. Let that thing load as long as you can. But yeah, as you can see, a crap ton of, I just commissioned more shields. Once again, these are going to be turned to different colors for different regions. Stuff like that. Oh yeah, got that beautiful thing in. Like, look at that. Oof. We're gonna probably redo this. I think this is a little bit big, but we'll see what happens. We might leave this in and just see what Solus can do. Let's see, I already showed you guys all of the armor, right? No, maybe. Anyways, all the armor. I mean, you guys can go through it. Don't want to waste or bore your time too much. And then once again, all of the horse armor that we're going to have in a game. One of the things is there's not a lot of concepts for horse armor, so that's kind of a shame, but we're trying our best. But yeah, so that's the game, ladies and gentlemen. People ask me all the time, can you start a campaign? Yes, you can do a campaign. I've had many people start campaigns and tell me about it. What can you do? Like I said, the community playtest is probably going to be updated from a 6 months to a year standpoint. We'll see what happens. I want to get it into a stable where it's not crashing as much. I'm not focused on sieges right now. They're a lot of money. They're about like anywhere between $1,000 to $4,000 depending on what you want to do. And it's Lord of the Rings, so you already know it's going to be a higher on that end of the pay scale than normally. So like that's going to be kind of annoying to do all these scenes. And if you look back, like all of these, kind of map icons need to have scenes, right? Have their own siege, have their own towns. Those are, kind of different things. Like all of these map icons, like just count that up. Like that's 1 to 2,000. Even if you go on the low end and you just, kind of shitbag it and you just do 1,000. I mean, you're looking at like, I don't know, $50,000 right there, in at the low end. I mean, maybe there's 50 icons in here, and that's not even counting the castles. That's counting just the towns. Like that's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. That's a nice car or a shitty car nowadays because the standard of cars is fucking declined. But that's a whole car just to be able to do scenes at the lowest end, and some of these scenes are going to be quite expensive. MT expensive. Helm's Deep we got from Alliance, but we still have to do some things to make it single player because that was multiplayer. Isengard's probably going to be around $1,000. So yeah, and then we don't have like a lot of references for this stuff, so we're gonna have to like kind of like figure it out. But yeah, so that's scenes are going to be one of the last things that I care about. Armor, weapons, map. Map is going to be like one of my focus areas. Code to get the features in game. That's what I'm caring about. Scenes and stuff like that's probably not going to be high on my list to do if I ever do it. To be truthfully honest with you, it's just a lot of money, and that's like what if I want to do that's $6 a month per scene from Patreon, and we got all this stuff to do. But anyways, yeah. We'll be marching on towards Ruin in this area right here, getting this done from a map perspective, cleaning up. This is not done. Black Rose is gonna come through here and make it a little bit more detailed, kind of like what Lemmy does, is he comes by and does another pass over like texture and stuff like that. Then we're gonna, we'll knock out Rivendell. Maybe Moria over here with some stuff. I'm not worried about the west of the map. I'm just really not. Only Linden's over here that I really care about. There's other things that are over here, but like they're, not. I'm not too worried about it. I might do Agmar, but like once again, it's up to the Patreons. The Patreons have given me their orders of Isengard and Rivendell, so that's what I'm going to be working on. The map icon for Rivendell is out here already. Oh, not out here, but like it will be implemented. I have it. I just haven't implemented. Or Theoden's Hall is done. Timber's working on these two right now, Gundabad and Karos. Iron Hills is actually right here, but I just haven't put it in game because I'm sorry, I put it in game, but I haven't put it onto its capital yet because the texture. I had to go fix the textures in it. Haven's done. I just haven't put it in game yet because once again, we're just not even there at the map from a map perspective. We're gonna have to figure out what to put in here. I don't know. That's a lot of space to just be dead. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. But yeah, so like that's kind of the development of the mod. You guys got to see kind of what behind the scenes, all the armors, all the weapons, kind of what the state is. Once again, you can definitely play campaign. Multiple people have and went through and had like someone even did 5 campaigns in different cultures. Some of them are going to be harder than others because once again, the starting options are going to be quite difficult. So I recommend that you go and start in these places that have a lot of hideouts. You guys can see, this is, what is it called? Spoiler alert. So you guys can start to see that stuff and start to go tackle, get some gold. The tournaments are probably going to be a little bit harder. I did scale back the lords, so they're not going to be as crazy as they once were, and I did scale back the troops, so they're not going to be as crazy as they once were, but like once again, subject to change. I don't think that if you face the Witch King or Sauron on the map, it should be an easy fight for you. It should be actually odds stacked against you, especially if once we get the Fell Beast in and other things. So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of like what's going on. Once again, focus is the north from a map perspective, and then east to Rune, and then south. Obviously, doing Rivendell with the north. Maybe sticking Moria in here somewhere. We'll see what we can do. Black Rose has offered to do a lot from his mod over here, from kind of missions and other things that he kind of has over there. But yeah, fill out this from an armor perspective. Dane is being worked on right now from Keyforce. I did commission him for 2 Dane armors and 2 Dane weapons, and then he'll be focusing on DG and Mount Gundabad. So that will basically be done within the next couple months. Mirkwood is being worked on right now by Leo V. So he's by the end of August, he hopes to have these 2 done, Lorien and Mirkwood. Then that's kind of like all the elves are basically done from a armor standpoint. Then Solios will focus on the weapons. I have him right now focusing on Rohan to kind of shore that up. Then he's gonna move on to wherever the Patreon kind of directs him to. Dal's gonna be kind of last on the list. So right now I think that they're just Sturgia or whatever, but they're gonna get their own kind of thing. Maybe Keyforce will do that. Maybe Leo V, depending on how busy they're gonna be. But yeah, so once again, that's kind of like the vision. There's a lot of my focus is right now on coding, making sure and get to stable. Get to a stable point so that you guys can play the mod without crashing, as besides various different things that I can't control. And then additionally, what was the last thing is filling out the rest of it. So there's a lot of companions that are going to be missing. There's going to be a lot of other XML work that I just didn't do. That is going to add some kind of better fine tuning to the game. Right now there's not any companions, so whatever, you're going to have to use some mods and make your troops companions for it now. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan that I'm going to be doing. I always take feedback. I always take your thoughts and considerations, even if you are not a paying member. I have literally implemented things from people who just had some good ideas. One of the normal members said, "Hey man, we need to move this over here." I was like, "Yep, totally on it." A couple other things. These names are not. They're not. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. They're gonna change. Don't worry about it. If you have ideas, I'm more than happy to change it. I don't care. You guys can fight. I'm not a Lord of the Rings nerd or a lore expert by any means, so you guys can sit here and fight about the names all you want. I use my own lore experts, people that have helped out on the game, who like Beast and Tyrell, to help me out with this stuff. But I'm not stuck on the names. I don't particularly care. It is literally changing one line. Right, it's coming in here, and people are like, "Oh well, the names." Okay, come in here, open up troops, and change the damn name right here. I don't care. It does not bother me. Do not change the ID. Whatever you do not change the ID. But you guys can change the name all you want, and I just changed it. Jesus. So you guys can change whatever you want. I don't like to play with these because I'm telling you, one little mistake and your whole game's gonna crash. But yeah, so all this is there. It's on GitHub. You guys could take a look. I don't hide any of my stuff. I don't obfuscate any of my stuff. I don't care. Use it, abuse it. But one of the things that you can do is, if you do take my shit, just return it better. If you can, if you don't mind, take my stuff and make it better. Because this is one person's or 2 people's or 3 people's idea of what right looks like. Take it and make it better, and then give it back. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck what you use in here from a coding perspective, from an XML perspective. Shout out to Bennett, by the way. Bennett did a huge job on taking all this stuff and putting it into native, because some people wanted to play a native campaign or just take the armory out or whatever it is. There are ways to do that. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. You can learn it yourself, because it is quite intensive to do from an XML standpoint and all that stuff. But I don't support it, is what I'm saying. I don't support other mods. I don't support taking stuff and putting it into vanilla, because as you can see, I got my own hands busy. I don't have time to be sitting here helping you figure out how to put something into vanilla, or why does this mod not work or that mod not work. It's just not something I don't even have time to play this game, to be truthfully honest with you. All I'm doing is testing and adding things into the game. So Bennett did a huge job. He was a huge contributor to the mod. He took all this and put it into the vanilla. So he gave it to me. I'm going to check it out, but I'm going to release it to the community so that you can play Lord of the Rings, this Lord of the Rings mod in the native environment. And that should also help you in the future with a new DLC that's coming out, because I have no idea what that shit show is going to be or how that's going to influence the game. There's not a lot of boat content. Maybe we can put some more rivers in here. Maybe there'd be some of this stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. There are some places that we can do some boat combat. The obvious places, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, Umbar, and Gundor, got it. But we'll see what we can do while also kind of sticking to the lore, because I don't want Doomlin to be sitting here fucking launching raiding parties into Rohan, or coming all the way around here to get the Gundor. It's just not a thing that they did. But yeah, so that's the mod. Hope that you enjoy it. For a lot of people, let me just kind of hammer out some things that are common issues real quick. You may fast forward, do whatever you want. We have a lot of issues, that I put in here, right? So if you have a DLL error, right? So you get this DLL error, any kind of DLL error, that means you didn't do the unblocking of DLLs. Please look it up. Please, for the love of God, read the fucking red text in PowerShell. A lot of people, they come in and they're like, oh, blah, 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 like, it's not working. And the main reason why it's not working is because, one, you didn't read my install instructions, right? Like, you did, and there's no excuse. There's Google, there's ChatGPT, like, there's literally no excuse to, like, oh, I'm not technical. Your ass is on Discord, your ass is on the computer. You're technical enough to be in here and read how to do this, right? Read the red text. It literally tells you what's going on. This right here, you have to have the full path, ladies and gentlemen. It has to have GCI, which is get child item. It has to have it. It has to have TAC path. This is my path, ladies and gentlemen. This is my path. It's mine. It's not yours. I tell you how to go look at and find yours, right? You can do it in this way, or another way that you can do it, I'll show you live, right? Another way that you can do it is come over here to, this, right? Come over here, go to properties, go to installed files, and browse. And it will pop up. Boom. That's where yours is. Mine's in E, my boom boom, right? That's where mine is. But yours is probably in C or D or whatever, right? So that's, I don't know why I even named it that booty. Must be my porn stash or something. But yeah, so like, once again, like, that's all, like, yours is probably in C or maybe somewhere else. Like, that, this is mine. This is just an example, but you do need to have this path. The 99% of the people just don't have the path correct. They don't have GCI in there. They just do like this. They just copy this and they paste it into PowerShell. Then they don't read the error, and it's kind of mind-boggling, because I did a video on it and I did this on it, and I get it. But you're Google away from solving your issue. I promise. It's not that hard. Read the red text. If it's saying that your path is not found, that means that your path is not correct. Go find it. Put it into these brackets, these little apostrophes or whatever the hell they are, because it eliminates all the special characters. Because maybe you have this and right here is a special character. These little apostrophes tell it to ignore it and treat it as a full path, right? So like, once again, majority of DLL issues. That's what I've seen so many times. Your PowerShell away. You could even ChatGPT it. It's not that difficult. But yeah, so you can come here, you can look at it and look at the install instructions. City names as vanilla. Like, so if you load the map and the city names are like, vanilla names, you didn't set it in English. I'm trying to work on more different languages. Not something that's high on my list, sorry. But like, change it to English, it will fix the names. Starting options, I just told you I'm working on that. It's a map problem. It's a coding problem that we're gonna take from Realms Forgotten. We're gonna look at that. Yes, the map is supposed to look like this. It's not complete. I already told you. I value not getting burned out, and I value real life over completing the full map. I'm telling you, when I first came into this Community, I can't tell you how many people came to me and said, I don't want to work with you because I'm already burned out from this mod or this mod or this drama or this or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I'm a completely different guy. I'm chillax. Like, I'm not going to put a timetable on you. If you get it done, you get it done. If you don't get it done, you don't get it done. It's really that simple for me. So that's why I don't have the map completed currently. And some people don't like it. Guess what? You do the map. You go into the editor and you build your own map, and then you come talk to me when it's done. Guess what? Take it, make it better, hand it back to me. I'll love to use it. No one has done it so far, by the way. Out of how many users in this Discord? I think like 7,000-8,000 users. I can go ask Carolina. He has like 28,000 users up in his Discord. I guarantee you, no one took his map and made it better and handed it back to him. So there's reasons why we do things at the end of the day. But I'm trying to peel back this layer, and I will get into more development blogs. So I'll show you guys how to import things. I'll show you how to jerry rig things. So I'm not going to show you how to rig things because it's just not my forte. Maybe Chase K can do you guys a video on that and his kind of brain thinking. But I will show you how to do like helmets and other easy shit. I will not show you how to do the whole thing because it's just not. I mean, Carolina has a great one that he shows you how to do it. It just takes a lot of back and forth. Moving on to the GPU error, so it looks like kind of like this. Any kind of GPU error, increase your terrain quality to medium or higher. Just increase your graphics. That's what it happens. Very common. Crash when recruiting. Hey, I'm trying to recruit and I'm crashing. That's because you're not on the latest Bannerlord. The latest Bannerlord is 1.2.12, and that's the only thing that we support currently. It's because of coding. They made a change to the recruiting models from 1 to whatever. I think most people were on 1.2.9 to at the time, and they were trying to like launch the game. It's just not going to work. And then loading screen freezes. I already talked about this. It does freeze. It freezes. You guys seen it? It froze for me, and I load my shaders every day. So that's just what it is. It happens. So those are kind of the common kind of things that are going on. The community release is kind of janky right now, in my opinion. It's not as stable as I wanted it to be or thought it was going to be. So like at the end of the day, this is what I struggle with. I have a lot of there's a way I do things. So I have a public release, I have a beta release, which is for Patreons. I have a public release, which is going to be the last one that I did in, May? So May, I released the last public community release. What was this one? Today? Yeah, so today I did this one, and then I have dev that, yeah. Anyway, so we work on dev. So how we do it is we make a feature. I'm currently working on XML updates. This should probably be deleted and stuff like that. But Chewy was working on race bonuses and other things. So, and there's more down here that he's working on. So, yeah, he's doing AI strategic thinking, balance of power, all these features. Once they're complete and they're tested on their own branch, they get merged into dev, and then we make the branch. Then we basically create a branch from dev, and we put it into feature, and we work on that, and then we merge it back in, right? That's how we do it. So dev is the one that it works. It's in a working condition, and it has basically the latest and greatest things that we're doing. Beta is the stuff that I give to the Patreons. Once this is fully tested, fully working, sort of stable, I move it to beta, and then I give that one there. And then beta will then become public at the community release, right? So that's kind of how that workflow works. And as you can see, yeah, you guys can see that. So that's kind of how our workflow works. You guys can once again go to the GitHub and play around with it. But what I was trying to get at, the root cause is I am trying to get a community release out because I think that the current community release is a little janky in terms of there's a lot of crashing and stuff like that. But like also additionally, like this is a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of resources that go into this. So I don't want to continuously release community releases because it just takes away from the Patreons. Like what's the purpose of giving the Patreons early access if it's just going to get released every time that I want to get a stable thing. So that's why once again there's a lot that's development's going to slow down. There's a lot that's going on. I'm not bogarting anything. When I release things, when I released that community release, right? I did not have specific things in the game. And now that I have them in game, people are like, oh, well, I want you to release that because I want to play with Sauron. I want to do this. And I'm like, that's great. But like, no. Pay $5. And I don't think it's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't think $5 is a lot of money to get the latest and greatest access to the Patreon. So once again, like I'm gonna be releasing one on Friday, and at the end of the day, like that's what I'm struggling with because it's too much work for me to figure out to go back to the public release, merge everything from dev into, or pick and choose, cherry pick dev into public release to fix some issues, because you're not going to have the latest armory, you're not going to have the latest troops, you're not going to have the latest stuff, because that's all kind of in the armory, right? So like it's just very difficult for me to like say, okay, snapshot in time, here is where it is. As I kind of move on and make things more stable, it's just very difficult to go back and kind of fix those community releases without releasing what I have right now. And once again, I just don't think that's fair to the Patreon members who are paying members to get, once again, the access. So that's kind of where I'm at. I kind of I struggle with it every day. Should I release it to the community and call it a day? But that's what, like, once this gets to a point where it's stable and we're not crashing as much, and people can play full campaigns, then I'll probably do a community release. So I project that to be another 6 months to a year out. So the next community release will probably be 6 months to a year. If you want to play the game and you want to play it in a better state, I would join Patreon. I try to update every day. Weekly, bi-weekly is when Patreons get a release. So if you're trying to play a campaign, becoming a Patreon member is probably the best step for you. But understand, every time I release a new Patreon version, you're starting a new game. So it kind of sucks for you if you're trying to do a full campaign, because when I release a Patreon, it comes with new armor, new weapons, new XMLs, new code. So like you're just not going to be able to play your save game. So you may as well stay on the community release, because it's not going to change for another 6 months to a year. But if you do want to like kind of check out the state of the game, play campaigns, and like get stuff, like once again, you don't have to download the newest and latest and greatest Patreon if you're a Patreon member. You can stay on yours. But what you can do is people ask me, like, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? Ladies and gentlemen, I post in this channel almost daily. Since I got back from vacation and before, right? So there's like kind of a 2-week gap here, but I posted every day what I'm working on, what's happening, what's going on with the mod. I think I overshare, and I think that's what that's just who I am. I'm going to be as transparent as possible. Yeah, that's just, I just don't believe in bogarting information. Like, if I have it, you're gonna have it. If you're gonna see exactly what we're working on, exactly where we are. I'm gonna try to do more dev blogs so that you guys can once again be step in step with us, so that you can decide if you want to contribute to the mod, which goes, once again, all of it goes back into the mod to provide this environment for you guys. With Interesting. My bad. I was saying fuck you to Tail Worlds real quick. But yeah, so the long story short is, if you want to play the game and you want to support the mod, please become a Patreon member, or figure out another way to help out the mod. You guys can. I have some people that kind of give me XMLs. I have some people that do a lot. Once again, shout out to all the testers, and shout out to Bennett and Valar and some other people that do a metric crap ton of helping me out with the feedback. Right? Bennett has been very active. Stuff like that. That just he provided me a whole lot of changes. So. Strat huge, in the community. So once again, awesome people just helping me out, trying to, kind of get this into a playable state. And that's what it is about, man. At the end of the day, is the community. Like, that's what it is. The community coming together to get out the mod that you want to, play. And as I do more development blogs, my main goal is to peel back that onion, peel back that curtain, so that you guys can see exactly what happens. Like, you want this? Oh, I want this in game. Well, let me show you how to get that in game. Let me show you what it takes, so that you can then like understand your realistic expectation. You can understand why some of these mods have taken 5 years, 10 years to get out into the market, or why some people have spent upwards of $400,000 of their own money or Patreon money to push out these mods, and they've been doing it for 5, 6, 7 years. I can only imagine. But yeah, so once again, I appreciate the shout out to the Patreons, shout out to those individuals who are doing stuff for free, the kindness of the heart, Tyrells, the Bennetts, the Valars, the Spartans, the Beasts, the other people. Shout out to the people that are on the team that get that bring this vision to life. I think that it's huge. You guys get to see what you're building, what you're doing, and see your work come to life. I think that's so huge. And if you guys are interested in commissioning these people, Keyforce, Solos, Leo V, Igor, I can't speak highly enough of them. These two are my goats right now for Solos and Keyforce, just because when they provide me something, it's basically just ready to just import and play. Solos has gone and did a lot of work on his personal time to learn this game, learn how to import things in, do the XMLs, which is huge. I can't tell you guys how much doing XML sucks. Yes, I do use a lot of AI to do it now. And I do have some kind of automation, but in the beginning I was doing those XMLs line by line. Just so, once again, I do recommend that. I do not recommend using AI for the beginning, because of the simple fact that you need to go through those growing pains so that you can become better at what you did wrong. You can quickly start to identify it. And last but not least, shout out to the community for keeping us going. Continue being engaging in the Discord. Continue providing your feedback. Continue pumping up and getting hype for the mod, even if it's not in a state that you like it in. I totally understand. It's a lot of time and resources, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what I'm trying to show you with these development blogs. So, maybe tomorrow I'll show you guys, how to import armors and weapons or fixes. I might just delete something and import it in for you guys, something that's easy, and show you guys from start to finish how to do that. So every time that I get something from Solos, for example, I will take that and I will show you guys weapons. How do I import weapons in? How do I do all the XMLs? Where are the XMLs? What XMLs do you need to touch in order to get them in? How do you do the importer through the editor? I will show you as soon as I get my hands back onto the asset sources of my map, since Black Rose, is doing the map. Only one person can work on the map at a time, so that's why it's important to kind of not mess around, because all your changes are just going to be gone, basically. Now, there are caveats to that, prefabs, blah, 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 but I'm not going to get into the weeds on that. But yeah, so, once again, trying to just peel back the onion so that you guys can become a little bit more educated and just to really understand what it takes to go into a mod. I think that's what the biggest thing I've learned in this kind of journey is, I kind of opened up a can of worms, if you will. I was like, oh, I was really interested in how these things worked, and now that I know how they sort of work, and I'm like, man, that's a fucking shit ton. I just a huge amount of respect for the Tor team, for the ROT team, Carolina, Chase K and his Elder Scrolls, Knox and his ADOD, some other people that I'm sorry I haven't played you guys' mod yet, the Shogun mod team. I hats off to you, because the amount of work that has to, Carolina alone, he's the one that kind of got me into I play a lot of his ROT mod, and he's the one that kind of got me interested in doing this. So I hate you, and I also love you. So with that being said, this is Haterade, Tales from the Age of Men. I am out of here.